name is John here, and today I want to talk about Danielle Smith. Danielle Smith is a relatively newly elected premier out in Alberta, and Alberta is one of the western provinces in Canada. Probably considered the more conservative province. As a matter of fact, Danielle Smith is the leader of the UCP, which is the United Conservative Party. And so normally you would think that, okay, mainstream media would be sort of contrary to her policies. But yesterday, as a matter of fact, the Calgary Herald, which is part of the mainstream media, and I guess the writer's name was a guy by the name of Don Braid, had an article basically talking about one of the ideas that Premier Smith has got regarding healthcare. And in Canada, healthcare is a big deal. The provinces are responsible for healthcare, but it's obviously funded, by the federal government as well, primarily. And so, as a matter of fact, in most provincial budgets, the healthcare cost is about a third of the total budget. In other words, including all your roads and infrastructure and everything else, healthcare is a major portion of the total budget in every province. And so, obviously, different premiers want to come up with solutions to the costs of it and try to figure out how to improve upon that. So, but of course, mainstream media, it doesn't matter if you're a conservative UCP, conservative premier, then it really wouldn't matter what you said. They're going to probably come up with finding offense with whatever you're doing. So anyway, one of the things that they have proposed, at least it looks like it's coming from Danielle Smith, was they want to change the healthcare system to a certain degree. In other words, take a little bit of the pressure off the doctors, basically, by hiring more nurse practitioners. And because the Minister of Health in that province had met with the head of the naturopaths, right away, Don Braid is suggesting that the conservative government that's now out there in Alberta is looking at potentially bringing naturopaths in. And naturopaths are obviously there. You can go see one, but in Canada healthcare system, certain things are covered by insurance, certain things aren't. And so what Don Braid, the writer, is saying here is that Danielle Smith has always had a mistrust in traditional medicine. And I'd argue that, okay, traditional medicine, what is traditional medicine? Isn't traditional medicine sort of going back to native medicines and things like that? And that's traditional medicine. I would say maybe he made a mistake in saying that maybe Danielle Smith, the premier, has a mistrust in conventional medicine. In other words, medicine that we know about today, which, by the way, hasn't been around that long in general, traditional settings of human beings over a long period of time. Anyway, from the point of view of conventional medicine, obviously it's pharma and doctors, and they have to be trained, and basically the doctors are trained based on how do we treat patients with pills, and that's really what it comes down to. And so when you talk about naturopaths, basically their thoughts is, okay, maybe we should look at the individual and see if we can't make them better. Conventional medicine, and I'm going to say conventional because that's what we're used to now, probably doesn't really care about getting people better per se. It's really not good for business if you think about it, and I've made videos about this before. Big pharma, for example, if you're better, that's not good for them necessarily, because they obviously need to sell medicines, which is their job, and they sell medicines at a profit for the point of view of making profit for their shareholders. And so when I see mainstream media, sort of arguing against something that might be an improvement from the point of view of an economic point of view, which is basically, I would say, a progressive idea. Obviously, mainstream media touts themselves as being in favor of progressive ideas, but I guess that's only on socialized, situations like gender equality and who knows what else. But when it comes down to economic ideas that might be progressive, which I think Danielle Smith is maybe coming up with some, then they all of a sudden have to find offense with that. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I guess because of Danielle Smith's, the premier's proposals, is it's got doctors worried and offended. I can't imagine how a doctor could be offended. I guess because they're not suggesting the doctor is the know-all person. There might be some other people that might have some other ideas that might work as well. And as a matter of fact, another doctor the writer quoted was saying the ideas were simply terrifying. Anyway, a great way to make an article, and obviously, that's their job as well, and everybody has a job, of course. is to make their article stand out. But when it comes right down to it, we do have a problem with healthcare. You know, Canada has their problems with healthcare, especially because it's a publicly funded healthcare. The United States has their problems with healthcare. You know, private. Really, one of the things that's important is when they were talking about the naturopaths in Canada are not covered by public insurance. And in the United States, the same would hold. And even in drugs, and we're in the position where we've got a treatment right now for C. difficile infection, which is a bacterial infection that we have a treatment for, which has got to get through the FDA approval to allow it to be covered by insurance. In other words, I can't go out and make the claim that it will cure C. difficile until I get through all that. And then people who have insurance are going to say, well, if I could make the claim, if it's not approved by the FDA, it won't be covered by insurance. And that's basically the same as what they're talking about with the naturopaths here. So, interesting thoughts. I think people should be open-minded when there's new ideas for healthcare, in the fact that keep in mind that the people that wanted to stay the status quo, which by the way obviously isn't working very well, we're overcrowded with with sick people. Maybe there are some alternative thoughts on really trying to keep people from being sick to begin with. Again, does that work in the favor of big pharma and doctors and such? Maybe not. But overall people, I think we'd all probably be happier if we were all healthier. So anyway, it was an interesting thing to see that right away the new premier comes out with some new ideas that go against the grain, and funny enough that mainstream media would be against it because the grain is big pharma and doctors, and sure, they like it the way they've got it, and I'm not saying that they don't do things that are good for patients as well, but there may be alternative ideas, and that's what Danielle Smith is promoting, and maybe we should give her a chance to at least see how these things might work out. Thanks for listening.